Good morning, folks. Appreciate you being here with us today. We've got a jam-packed show. Lots to cover. Man, oh man. FBI rating Mike Lindell, the drive-through of all places, what they took, what they wanted, what they were after, not the promo codes, not the pillows. You see Trump's truth about this? About the pillow guy? It was classic. Big news there. Horrible numbers for Biden administration when it comes to the economy, and it's just nobody should be celebrating, but he was celebrating it yesterday. Whitmer taking a victory lap with him as well. She's still riding with Biden apparently. But speaking of her, Tudor Dixon on the attack and talking about crime and how out of control it is here in Michigan. We'll talk to her a little later on today, and Ryan Kelly joins us. Lots to cover live in just a second here. Welcome in, folks. It's another gorgeous day high at top Grand Rapids downtown in West Michigan. And oh, man, it was a little quiet this weekend. We talked about how quiet it was, the news of the weekend. Not much more than the news about the Queen, but it's coming at you like a fire hose today. Lots to talk about. Joining us today, Tudor Dixon, running for governor here in the state of Michigan. On the attack, trying to take the state back. And, of course, the crime wave that's having, we call it Whitmer's wave. The crime wave. A lot of talk about red waves, blue waves. The crime wave is what we're talking about in Michigan today. We'll get into that coming up. The stories that matter most, you'll be talking about these around the water cooler, their dinner table, no matter where you are. These are those stories powered by good friends at Heartland Home Mortgage. Never know when they could save you a little bit of money. And of course, as things go these days, Biden inflation, let's just call it what it is, Biden inflation through the roof. Even MSNBC, CNN having to admit how bad the news was yesterday and the out of touch, tone deaf Biden and Whitmer administrations almost dancing giddily yesterday. Just wild to watch. They got called out on it. We'll get into that coming up, but put a little bit more money back in your pocket. Get in touch with the good folks at Heartland Home Mortgage. Of course, hhmlending.com. Tell them I sent you and thank them for supporting this broadcast. Yep, right off the bat, has to be our top story. Wall Street has its worst day since June 2020. Inflation rating hotter than expected. The Dow dropped more than 1,250 points. We're just minutes away from it opening again today. Does it continue that fall or does it recover? We'll take a look at the futures coming up here in just moments. But even PMSNBC having to get in on the fun, the action yesterday.
The prices are still out of control, and that hits a lot of people really week to week. You could black out the news, you could stop paying attention to whatever. You can't ignore that everything costs more than it did last year. Here's the headline: inflation stubbornly high, wages not keeping pace with these fast rising prices, which they note is also an uncomfortable truth for a president who promised to make real wage gains a centerpiece of his economic program. The prices are still out of control, and that hits a lot of people really week to week.
Everybody feels this day to day. The only folks that maybe don't are, out of that range, the top 1%. Real folks are hurting, and of course, that's the story. Stock market, folks losing retirement, et cetera. It's going to be one of those things that we'll continue to keep an update on throughout the day, of course. Grocery costs by themselves. Listen to this. Just saw the largest increase in 43 years. A massive 13.5% increase, hurting families, farmers, small businesses, and more across Michigan and the nation. We'll talk about this as it continues. But did you know there is a railway strike that is set to happen on Friday? This could make things exponentially worse. That story that very few people are talking about, we'll warn you about coming up again in just moments. Tudor Dixon is on the attack. She released a $1 billion plan to make Michigan safe again. She's fighting back for Michigan, fighting back for families. Joined by Kent County Sheriff Michelle LaJoy Young yesterday, local law enforcement and state legislators. Dixon's strategy would invest $1 billion, new dollars that is, of course, into Michigan to fight crime. The money be used over the next 4 years to recruit and retain over 5,000 new local officers, 5,000 new fire and EMS personnel, 500 state troopers, and 2,000 state and local corrections officers fighting back, fighting for a safer Michigan. We'll talk to Tudor Dixon coming up in just moments. Mike Lindell reported he was raided yesterday by the FBI, so to speak, in the drive-thru of a fast food restaurant. You can't make this stuff up. He was coming back from a hunting trip. Mike, he's got a kind of a good sense of humor about it all. He's excited because he thinks now people are going to get to know the truth about some of the things that he's been looking at. He said, here are the documents, take them. You know how Mike talks. He says, they've been on my website this whole time. Well, they wanted his phone more than anything. They had a warrant for it. They seized it. Mike said, that's all I use to stay on top of everything with my companies. I can't believe they're taking my phone. Most upset about that, which is kind of strange because it seems to me that they could get everything they need nowadays in the cloud. But no, they wanted that phone. But he did mention that the agents were very nice. They were respectful, and he had some kind words to say about them. Trump, meantime, is truthing. He's over on Truth Social, sounding off. He says, breaking news, Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, just raided by the FBI. We are now officially living in a weaponized police state, rigged elections and all. Our country is a laughingstock all over the world. Hard to argue with that, isn't it? The majesty of the United States is gone. Can't let this happen. Take back America. More on that as the conversation continues. And we reached out to Mike. You never know. May have him on at some point. We may get a call out of the blue, and we'll jump to Mike at some point today if we do. MSNBC, as I mentioned earlier, PMSNBC. Not the only folks talking about the strangeness of yesterday's festivities. CNN mentioned it too.
Only hours before James Taylor serenaded the crowd celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act.
I've seen fire and I've seen rain.
A new inflation report showed consumer prices remain hotter than expected.
His number one economic priority is to deal with inflation. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely.
In August, prices rose 8.3% from a year earlier, compared to 8.5% in July, meaning that while drivers may be feeling relief at the pump with gas prices going down, rent, healthcare, restaurant meals, and furniture all remained high. A core inflation index that doesn't include food or fuel also rose sharply. Only
the food and the fuel is it. Housing is up too. But the food and the fuel, that's what everybody has to deal with on a daily basis. Those are the things that are really hitting people the hardest. CNN can't shy away from it. The worst day for the Dow since June 2020. Consumer prices remaining painfully high as the stock market falls. It's bad news all around. And as I mentioned, this railroad strike, nobody's talking about this, but this could add more fuel to the already, I think, inflamed fire that we're seeing the economy in
Got
right
new
now.
inflation data today showing that consumer prices remain painfully high for Americans, which led to a really rough day for the stock market.
Yeah, in fact, it was the worst day for the Dow since June of 2020, for the Dow since June of 2020 there. So historically bad day, but it wasn't just the Dow, it was all of the major averages. The S&P closed off 4.3%. The NASDAQ, the worst among them, closed off 5.1%. And what's happening here, Jake, is we got that report this morning that showed that inflation, while energy was declining, and a lot of other categories, Jake, inflation was still accelerating. Categories like shelter, categories like food.
We got new.
They tried to say yesterday, oh, no, it's great because, the cost of gas has come down a little bit. Well, I told you yesterday, it's still up a buck. A buck. It's still up a buck over where it was before Biden took office. Incredible. And all of this continues, this just reckless kind of downward spiral that we're seeing. And Democrats seem to be, walking arm in arm in lockstep together. It is just wild to watch the celebrations that were taking place, the tweets that were going out. It's like these people are completely out of touch with reality and also out of touch with people like me and you, people who are hurting now more than ever. One of them is Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
I'm riding with Biden.
From one consumer crisis to another.
I'm riding with Biden.
Prices jumped 19 cents in the last 24 hours.
I'm riding with Biden.
Grocery costs up 10.8% over a year ago.
I'm riding with Biden.
She keeps riding with Biden, by the way.
Gas prices to food. The question on everyone's mind, are we...
It makes it more expensive to ride anywhere these days, the cost that they're exacting on us. Tudor Dixon joins us right now. She's a candidate for governor, fighting back in various different. Well, first, I know we want to talk about crime because you're at the forefront of this in Michigan, trying to make it safe again for families here. But Tudor, thank you for joining us. Let's talk about just the out of touch, tone deaf nature of both Biden and Whitmer together. I guess they're riding in the same. Maybe it's a Tesla. I don't know what they're riding, but they're riding together. And the rest of us are really paying for it. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. And don't you find it interesting that Democrats across the country are distancing themselves from Joe Biden? But here we have Governor Whitmer, who, as she said, is cut from a similar cloth, out there today with him talking about EV vehicles at the auto show. And here in Michigan, we've lost 5,000 jobs because we are not getting the EV vehicle business here. So it seems pretty tone deaf to go out and celebrate this today, especially after yesterday when we see the stock market crash and inflation is at over 8%. And they're out there saying, look at these outrageously expensive vehicles that you could never afford that is also costing Michiganders jobs.
I love that line from, Granholm, which is she's part of the cabinet. Mayor Pete, now, I guess a resident of Michigan, Mayor Pete out there telling people, hey, if you can't afford gas, go out and buy a $60,000, $70,000 electric vehicle. And by the way, they're not made in Michigan either, like you said.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly how tone deaf they are. They were out there yesterday celebrating this. You have Nancy Pelosi saying that was when you were supposed to clap. You know why people aren't clapping for Democrats right now? Because they can't afford to clap. They can't afford to get their money out of their wallets to pay for groceries because there's nothing there. This is outrageous that they are celebrating their policies that have driven people out of the state. When I talk to people, business people in the state of Michigan, they say, we are so concerned with the fact that Gretchen Whitmer is looking like she's headed the direction of Gavin Newsom and that Michigan could become the next California with energy. We are worried about the future of our business. And that is honestly the silent majority that we believe is going to come out in droves come November to say, we want to save our state. We do not want to have blackouts. We don't want to have increased costs. We don't want to have energy shortages or line pipe shutdowns.
You are at the forefront of this fight, not only in this area, but another big area that folks in Michigan are very concerned about, which is crime. And you made a big announcement yesterday on this. Tudor Dixon with us right now. Here in Grand Rapids, just down the street from where we are, steps from where we are right now at the police department outside, as you sort of unveiled this plan and outlined how with $1 billion new money spent, you would fight to make Michigan safer for families. It's a pretty staggering plan. Folks looking at this and saying, it's wild to think that we should actually, go out and support the folks that are keeping us safe. We just had the 21st anniversary of September 11th. These people that are running towards the danger, running towards the fires and the crime and whatever it might be in our state. And of course, they're on September 11th. Support those people instead of defunding them. What a wild idea it is.
Right. Well, we cannot continue on the path that we're on, because if you look at what we've endured under Gretchen Whitmer and her administration, just in 2 years, because they only have the data up to 2020, but in 2018, Michigan was the 14th in the nation for violent crime rate. In 2 years, it went up to 9th in the nation for violent crime. And we know that violent crimes are rising across the state, and those numbers just aren't coming out as quickly as we would like to see. But we know that under Gretchen Whitmer's administration, we've seen a rise in carjackings, we've seen a rise in homicides, we've seen a rise in violent crimes, and this has to be dealt with. But she has come out and clearly stated that she supports the spirit of defund the police. The police have told me across the state that they don't feel that they have an administration that has their back, and that has emboldened criminals and emboldened suspects across the state to go after them. They've been called to go out to a crime scene, and it's just an ambush. We saw this a few weeks ago in Detroit, where we lost an officer because of this. So we think it's absolutely critical that we invest in our law enforcement officers, our first responders in general. So we did put this $1 billion plan forward to invest in our first responders, but also to make sure that they have the training that they need, to make sure they have the technology that they need, to make sure that they have the equipment that they need. We've looked at this, and we've created a robust plan to make sure that the number one promise that we make as government is kept, and that is to keep our citizens safe. That is what we agree to. That is Section 1 of the Constitution, that we are going to keep the citizens safe, and that is something that Gretchen Whitmer has turned her back on.
We have seen, in fact, just another officer, his end of watch just 2 days ago in Detroit. The crime in major cities, these are Democrat cities, by the way, folks. This is not something that is unique here to Michigan, but anywhere that these radical regressive policies are put in place, you see the crime rates through the roof. And Gretchen Whitmer apparently tone deaf to all of this, not paying attention to it, doesn't care. In fact, took a knee at one point with these folks who were protesting officers. But here's another young officer, his end of watch, September 12th, 2022, Lloyd Todd. And we hear these stories all the time. Unfortunately, they're too numerous. But, another thing that I thought about yesterday is we, you had this conversation. I talked with Johnny Brand, who was there, a very big supporter of police. But, who in the right mind wants to do that job these days, as they're constantly under attack? We have to have a dramatic shift back to those reasonable principles. I think that's where most folks are. We have to have a dramatic shift, and that requires leadership.
And that's going to be bringing people into the community, but also lifting people up in our communities and bringing this back as a career to be proud of, and to know that you are supported and you are lifted up by not only the community, but also the state government. And that's where they don't feel like they are receiving that support right now. And it's so key that our police officers do feel that, because they're telling me, we feel like we're going to work and we can either be killed or we could end up going to prison because of what we do. That's that is why people are leaving. People are retiring. People are retiring early. And it's key that we make sure that we have the support in place to bring people here, to rise people up into these careers, and to make sure that once they're there, they're supported and they have the future support that they need as well. So we're looking at all different creative ways to make sure that we have a police force that is strong, but we are also making sure that we are keeping the streets safe. I mean, we talked to a person just a couple days ago who said, I went to visit my buddy in downtown Grand Rapids. And he said, broad daylight. My buddy said, you're not going to believe this. My car was stolen the other day. He said, I walked out of his office. I was only in there for about 5 minutes. I walked out of his office and my car had been stolen.
Yeah.
And when I talk to police officers, they say, yeah, this isn't just the big cities anymore. And this isn't just the areas where we've seen crime in the past. Crime is seeping into other communities as well. So we have to do this.
After just 2 years of Whitmer's leadership, this stat, Michigan rose to the 9th highest violent crime rate in the entire country. You just mentioned these carjackings. We're up 700% right now in Michigan. And I know they're happening almost hourly in Grand Rapids, fighting back to take the state back and, of course, make it safe again, make Michigan safe again for families. Tudor Dixon, TudorDixon.com. Folks are asking in the chat on the behind-the-scenes live stream how they can help out, make donations, yard signs, things of that nature. Maybe they can volunteer. Best way they can stay in touch with you, Tudor?
Yeah, please check out TudorDixon.com. There's a place to email on there, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can contact us on Facebook as well. We are out there every day, and we'd love any support we can get.
I know it's a fight, but folks are united behind you. Tudor Dixon, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Great work. And, of course, more of these plans, folks, to keep an eye on. I think there's a lot more headed our way. We'll continue to keep you updated with all of those things as they do continue to develop. Wanted to make sure we talked to her today. Coming up, speaking of crime, right? You ever notice the crime that, needs to be stopped the most? Some of these most violent crimes, some of the most senseless situations, they run unchecked. Some of these prosecutors let these people off. They're in jail and then they're released and out. It's like a revolving door for some of these folks over and over again. And yet we got the FBI raiding folks like Mike Lindell yesterday. Our conversation continues, folks. You can join the program at any time right here on West Michigan Live. All right, folks. Ryan Kelly is coming up in just moments as well. Melissa, I cannot ask the questions that you're asking me to ask because they're off subject. Additionally, you should have already done your research with her. I don't mean to get rude or upset, but you should have done your research. Go talk to her. She is everywhere. Last night she was at the Kent County Stand Up Michigan meeting. Go talk, ask these questions. Yes, Gina Johnson is on the schedule at some point to come on. Folks, I got to tell you, Laura hit the nail on the head. She was just, people are asking for yard signs, things like that. You should go get them. You got to make donations. These candidates need the money. It's not just Tudor. It's Matt. It is Christina Caramo. These folks want to fight for you, but they need the resources. Somebody was just asking, why haven't I seen any? Come on, hang on. We got a quick break for news, bottom of the hour, but we bring you the latest coming up. Ryan Kelly joins us in a fight against these two radical, extreme proposals that'll be on the ballot in November. You want to find out how you can fight back? We'll talk about that railroad strike and how to prepare because things could get even nastier over the next couple of days. And we're just minutes away from that open on Wall Street today. Hang on. You have to realize, and I don't mean to be rude. Yes, I think there would be an answer on Facebook Messenger, or go see her when she's on your side of the state, because you're crisscrossing the state right now. But what you have to realize is what I'm doing right now, what this campaign has to do right now is we have to talk to the people that haven't been paying attention. So while you watch the behind-the-scenes live stream here, this is a chat. This is for folks who are more engaged. You know, it's kind of a podcast style. But I'm doing a radio show, which is a broadcast. I'm hitting a wider range of people. So I have to get these messages out, these broader messages out to people who haven't been paying attention. They may just now start to be waking up. So we have to talk about crime. We have to talk about the economy. And certainly, Melissa, I don't know. I think she probably would. Someone will answer. I mean, she doesn't run her own Facebook page. She can't. But somebody will answer. She's very receptive. She answers questions, and I got to tell you, I think you'll like what she has to say. I can't speak for her, but I think you'll like what she has to say. And I'll try. Maybe I get some more time to talk to her about these things. But at the end of the day, when we do these, and her time is very focused right now. When we do these, here's the other thing I'm saying. I don't. I guess I'm just a little frustrated because you know what the alternative is. It's either Dixon or Whitmer. We know what Whitmer's going to do. I don't think there'll be a fee. There wasn't a fee last night at Stand Up Michigan. Melissa, I love you. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say it again. Sometimes, folks, and here's the thing. I've had to say some tough talk for folks lately. I'm going to have to say this, but I think it needs to be said. And, folks, I can't say because I love you so much. We know the choices. We've seen what Whitmer has done. We've seen what she's done. It's made the state a hellhole. She gets 4 more years. It's even worse. So these, all these purity tests and questions about, well, what do you believe? What do you think about this? And if we're in the, if it's in a full moon and then, folks, there's no time for this. And you don't realize some of the things and the frustrations, the things that we've gone through. Some of these things have been inflicted by our own people. So I get it because we're all, we've been burnt before. So we're all watching everything and asking questions and wanting to make sure that we get everything. But right now I'm on track. We got to get Whitmer out. That's my focus. That's where I am. So that's where we're running. And by the way, I think a lot of people have been asking, why haven't you seen the TV ads? Well, they got to have money to run those. Do you know how much money the Democrats have right now? It is incredible. And they've barely even scratched the surface. All the ads that you've seen right now, they've barely scratched the surface of any of that money that they've got. The 3 Musketeers, Kim calls them, needs to go. Yeah, I call them the evil trinity. Whitmer, Nessel, Vincent. They got to go. They got to go. And the other thing we got to do is say no to these proposals. These proposals got to go too, folks. And we've got to get out and reach these people. We need action. We are seeing that in some. Hey, they're showing on Fox News right now and on NBC and everything else? I'll have to just barely mention it. But this is the final thing. Thousands gather to pay final respects to the Queen. She's leaving Buckingham Palace for the last time. This is what they're spoon feeding to people right now shoving down their gullets. People aren't paying attention. And this railroad thing is serious, and people don't even know about it. If it goes the way it looks like it might go, I got some videos. I'm going to play them on the after show because I can't play them during the full show today, but I'm going to play some of these radical extreme videos, almost libs of TikTok stuff. I mean, people are already feeling the pinch. You saw how much food prices, et cetera, are up right now. I'm preaching to the choir. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But imagine if the rail is shut down. There's a railroad strike in this country, and how long that lasts and what it looks like. Folks, it is not pretty. Stand by, back on the air here in just a moment. Yeah, Zombie Slayer. Why are American flags at half-staff for the Queen? Well, I think that's like a show of solidarity for, like how they did it September 11th for us. But I said this earlier this week. It couldn't care less. Last time I really cared about what happened over there would have probably been 1776. We have much bigger fish to fry, don't we? Hang on, folks. I'll be right back. It is wall to wall right now. They are all over Fox News, all over NBC. Queen Elizabeth II procession is underway. Her last time at Buckingham Palace. They're leaving, looks like, as we speak, and I'm not going to spend hardly any time talking about it. Last time I cared about anything that happened over there, and please don't take this the wrong way, but it probably was 1776. There are bigger things happening here, bigger fish to fry, and I think there are a lot of distractions folks are hit with today, and it's crime, it's the economy, it's what they're doing to our kids in schools. It's this election. It has major consequences. Coming up at 9:45, we'll talk to Ryan Kelly, who is fighting these two radical extreme proposals that are on the board. They'll be voted on in November. The other thing that's happening, as I mentioned, time after time after time again, here we have another situation, Biden inflation wiping out wage gains. By the way, this is PMSNBC's Stephanie Rule talking about how, it's great that you got some sort of a raise or anything, but it means nothing when all this inflation is wiping out any bit that you've earned, any ground that you've made up. She said completely wiping it out. This is PMSNBC calling them out, folks. Biden and Whitmer yesterday celebrating through it all.
It sure is, Jose, and that's why people are so frustrated right now. Things like eggs, milk, butter, you've got to buy those things every week to keep your family in good shape. And the fact that they're up that much, even though wages are up, they're simply not up in line. And you could be saying, hey, I got this raise. Your raise means nothing if you had to spend it all on milk, eggs, and bacon.
She ain't lying. That's their tough talk there, but it's real. That's MSNBC. They're supposed to care about the people. Remember, they're supposed to be the ones out there caring about the people. But they're not. And folks, the thing that you need to know, and I don't know how much this is going to be talked about. I've warned about it last couple of days. I'm hearing more and more about it. In fact, I've got radical extreme video that I'm going to share. It's almost libs of TikTok stuff, but I'm going to share it in the after show. Can't really share it right now, but a railroad strike is possibly going to hit us on Friday. You say, what does that mean? A railroad strike? Well, the economy is already in shambles. The way things are happening right now, the way things are working, we've already got major problems. The cost of food prices in the U.S., far higher than they were a year ago, according to new data released Tuesday, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Overall, grocery prices jumping almost 14%. Restaurant prices in the menus, 8%. Egg prices soaring almost 40%. White flour, 23%. Milk, 17%. That's what she was just talking about on MSNBC. Meat, poultry, fruits, vegetables also grew costlier. On a monthly basis, consumer prices rose, I say, 8.1%. It's much higher than that. They're not being realistic. They're not being truthful with those numbers. And of course, what happens if they shut the railroads down on Friday? You ought to be prepared. I don't want to cause you to be fearful. But think about, may want to have some cash on hand. You may want to have enough food or supplies for a couple of weeks. May want to warn your family. Why am I telling you this? Because that's what the wives of railroaders are saying on open videos that they're putting out to people, talking about some of this stuff that I caught from this woman yesterday. I mean, they want pure anarchy. I'll play that a little bit later on. But about 60,000 union members who work for a nation's freight railroads, including engineers and conductors, set to go on strike Friday if an agreement isn't reached on new contracts. From what I heard, they had an agreement on nearly all of the unions except for two. But those two may still choose to go on strike. And I thought Biden had these guys in his pocket. I thought they were all working hand in hand with each other. This report says without those railroaders on the job, trains will not run, nor will many commuter and Amtrak trains that run over freight rail lines either. But if the trains aren't running, folks, here's what that means. What runs on trains? Coal, diesel, lots of food, grain, things like that. These folks, and they ought to be well taken care of, right? But we're all going to be feeling the pinch, and people are going to be hurt. They're going to be hurt very badly. So prepare. I've made this comment before, but just get ready because we don't know what's going to come. We don't know what's going to happen. We can pray like it all depends on us, or pray like it all depends on God, and prepare like it all depends on us. That's my strategy. So do what you can, but you ought to think about these things. And at the end of the day, they're showing Queen Elizabeth II, her funeral, the Queen's funeral on TV. And look, I get the historic nature of it, but we're about to see something biblical in the next few days. If we're not careful, and the guy who's asleep at the wheel, I used to think it was incompetence, but today I doubt that. It all looks to be intentional. All right, folks, we continue the conversation. You can join us now on the phone, 616-774-2424. That's the way to get in. Ryan Kelly joins us coming up in just moments. He's fighting hard against these two proposals. You want to make sure you're a part of it. He'll tell you how you can fight back, an event that's happening this weekend at a church in Grand Rapids where you can come support and, of course, help raise money for this. The fight is going to be costly, but I believe we can win. And, I've been talking about health a lot lately, and, of course, our health, your health over the last couple of years is probably more important than ever before. You've been hearing buzzwords like masculinity and whether or not that's toxic or not, but have you ever sat and thought about testosterone? And how we're constantly seeing folks under attack, low testosterone. There's a lot to be said about what's in the products that we eat and use on a daily basis and how the stress of our daily lives can impact our hormone levels, specifically in men with testosterone. If you are finding yourself with a little mental fog, you don't have the attention span that you used to, stress, things like that causing focus issues at work and even at home, making it tough to focus on some of the most simple tasks, you may want to check out the folks at Mentality. Mentality provides FDA-approved testosterone treatment. They've got board-certified physicians to help you, and they work with most insurance companies. A local healthcare facility, Mentality, specifically dedicated to helping men feel and perform at their best. Think about it. Your life is so important. The work you do, your calling, your purpose. You come home to your family. They deserve it. You deserve it. Be the best man you can. Get the testing done. Find out exactly what's needed. They have custom solutions for everybody, but you've got to check them out first. Mentality. Check them out today at lowtusa.com. Go to lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com. The folks at Mentality today. All righty then. Let me see. Looks like we got Ryan popping on here in just a bit. Grabbing Mike Lindell's phone. Now they have his Bible verses. That's funny. They do. It's probably a good thing. You know, not all the folks in the FBI are bad. He mentioned that the guys that were with him, you say, hey, we're just doing our job. I understand that's probably some. That's some tough stuff, especially in these days and ages. But he said they were pretty polite to him. Pretty polite. All right, let's see. Boy, I tell you, the left and the bots on Twitter are crazy. You do a hit with Twitter or Tudor Dixon, and then they just come out. They come out of the woodwork. They're nutty. I know Ryan's experienced that, but just the thing is, it doesn't stop us. It just hardens our resolve. I think. Let me see if Ryan can. Ryan, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me this time, Justin?
You sound great. You look great. I like the beard too. How many of you like the beard? You like Ryan's beard?
Got it going.
Is that cool or what? Hey Ryan, I got a great idea for raising some money for this thing. I've wanted to do this for a while now anyway, but I think you're going to love it. This is going to be right up your alley. I think we ought to do a cigar night somewhere.
I love it because I love cigars. So. Yes, that's it. Yes, cigars always make for a great evening. So let's plan it. Let's do it. Let's do a cigars evening. All are welcome, and then maybe we could do a couple of locations around the state. Right? I got networks all over the state. Got people in Macomb County, Oakland County, Wayne County that love me. We can do something over there. We got stuff up north, the Traverse City area, and of course Grand Rapids here. So maybe we do a little state tour cigar nights. Man, you got good ideas, Justin. I like you, man.
Look at the chat. It's exploding right now. I think that this is hey man, great minds think alike.
Yeah, for sure. That's good, man. Great idea. Let's set it up. Let's see if somebody can take the point on that and set up a couple of locations. We do like Godfathers on the other side of the state. What's that one up in Traverse City there? Nolan's. We could go to Nolan's there. And then here we got Bold Cigar, something like that in Grand Rapids. Let's do it.
Lots of good places. All right, stand by, folks. We're going live with Ryan here on the air. Sound off anytime. You can rant and rave, ask questions, any of it over on the iHeartRadio app. Just click that microphone button next to the play button there on the app. Thanks to the folks at MKD Funeral Homes. Whenever you talk to any of our sponsors, especially folks like MKD, tell them thank you for all they do. They were very, very critical in this weekend's Freedom Cruise with Finish the Mission Veterans Event and the Gold Star event, and the families, the things they did for them, just unbelievable. So say thank you anytime you talk to them. Thank them for their support. Those folks that are standing up doing the right thing. Speaking of which, standing up doing the right thing with us right now, Ryan Kelly, former candidate for governor here in Michigan, is fighting and uniting to join together, fight against these two proposals. Really, there's three, but there's two that are just absolute. If they make it through, folks, the state, you'll never recognize it again. It's the radical extreme abortion and parental consent, really, that's involved in this one proposal. And then the second one is the voting proposal that will literally make our elections It's like a complete automatic, favoring Democrats in ways that you will never believe it. Ryan will talk a little bit about that, but you have an event coming up that folks are going to want to be a part of. We talked to you last weekend when they decided these things are going to make it on the ballot. We're seeing that moving through. The fight is intensifying, and I know folks want to be a part of standing up against these. So let's explain them real quickly. First, the abortion. People think, well, it's just abortion. But there are people that I know you talk to and others that are saying, look, I'm pro-choice. But even these things that are inside these proposals go too far for me. The parental consent especially.
That's it, Justin. The extremeness of these proposals is mind-boggling. It is so poorly written and it's so loosely worded. I actually have a huge bombshell that I want to drop on this, and I'll save that for right now and just talk a little bit about these two proposals. First of all, as you mentioned, it removes parental consent. And we actually have, I'm going to show you guys here. You guys all get a sneak peek of this right now. This will be live coming up on the website here soon. And we're going to be releasing these. We put together a little flyer here so people will be able to have access to this information. Nice. And this is what the front's going to look like right here. If Proposal 3 passes, it will constitutionally protect late-term, partial birth abortions and dismemberments. That's the tearing apart of arms and legs of full-term babies that could survive outside of the womb. It allows minors to obtain abortions, sterilization, puberty blockers, and sex change surgery without parental knowledge or consent. And this really becomes the most extreme abortion policy anywhere in the country. A couple of quotes here. I'm pro-choice, but abortion at 8 months goes too far. I'm voting no on Proposal 3. Give us common sense abortion laws. That's from Jasmine in Detroit. Kathy from Battle Creek said, I support a woman's right to choose, but teenage abortions without parental consent, ? This eliminates parental consent for children to have abortions. Human traffickers love that kind of stuff, right? These abusers love that kind of stuff. And this proposal allows those things to go unchecked. It eliminates parental consent for minors to receive puberty blockers, undergo sex change surgery, sterilization, or genital mutilation. There's a lot of people now that have transitioned and they're going through like a detransitioning where they regret all of these things. And tell me what 13-year-old's not going to regret going through one of these gender reassignment surgeries when they're in their 20s. It's just so extreme, Justin. And if people know the truth, they signed the Reproductive Freedom for All petition, thinking that it was just, hey, codify Roe versus Wade in Michigan, or, protect a woman's right to choose. And it is not at all. And I am looking very forward to sharing, this bombshell that I have with this, because there's been some recent discoveries with this that watch for this on the page later. I'm going to make a statement announcement about this too. So anyways, that's that one. Justin, you got anything to say before we talk about the voter one?
Yeah, you have to come back and tell us what the announcement is later and talk about it a little bit later on.
Oh, man, I would love to, because this one blows things wide open. It's going to get people talking more so than ever. MichiganSaysNo.com. You got it up there on the site. We're going to be making a resource page. People will be able to have access later today. We're going to be printing lots of copies of all of these flyers we're making. We're going to have, like I showed a minute ago, a voter one here soon. And some of the stuff with the voter one, Proposal 2, putting things in perspective, right? Regardless of how you feel about the 2020 election, whether it was stolen, whether it wasn't, that conversation aside, I think all of us agree, because even most Democrats believe that there was some sort of shenanigans, something that made them feel uncomfortable with how the outcome was with the process. And, there's no one can deny the fact that there's controversy over that. Now, Matt DePerno's not allowed to look inside the public machines. If there's transparency, why is there not transparency? So, here's the thing, is that one way we can look at it, for the Democrats to think about this, is the fact that, what if it was the other way around? What if it was 2,000 mules in MAGA hats that were stuffing the ballot box full of ballots at weird times throughout the day, right? Would there be questions raised there? Or would we just sweep that under the rug? Because this new proposal, it gets rid of identification of our voters. It allows these ballot harvesting and these ballot boxes to be opened up as much as possible. It really provides insecurity a level that is unprecedented. Wisconsin recently banned ballot boxes, these drop boxes. I'm sorry. And so we see it's unconstitutional in Wisconsin, but we're trying to put it in our constitution in Michigan. And, even so many people that don't think that 2020 was stolen feel uncomfortable about a lot of these new measures. And so again, this has nothing to do with promoting the vote. This has everything to do with allowing elite corporations and politicians to dump money into our elections, manipulate them. And Justin, this locks the public out. This changes it so that asking questions about election integrity could potentially be a crime. Only elite politicians can have access.
We've already seen that happen. They've moved to that. They're just raiding. And I got to ask you before we let you go. But Ryan, they raided Mike Lindell. The FBI raided him in a drive-through last night.
I heard about that.
Took his cell phone, and all this really comes down to people that are you're not allowed to ask questions anymore about any of this stuff.
That's it. And this codifies it. Somebody mentioned in there, please talk about the term limits ballot initiative too. It's ridiculous. Vote no, right? We don't need to give people more time in the legislature. Vote no, right? They don't need to spend 12 and 12 years in there. So, but yeah, Teresa, we're going after two of them, right? And somebody else can lead the charge on the other as well. We do have some marketing on that, but vote no on that one as well. But Justin, I don't know how much time you have for me here today. MichiganSaysNo.com. This Saturday, we're having an event at GR Church on Stauffer. You're going to be there speaking. I'm going to be there speaking. Joe Moss from Ottawa Impact is going to be there speaking. Lots of time for networking. There's going to be a concert that happens there. We're going to have lots of materials for people to hand out. You'll be able to leave with a lot of material. It is a fundraiser, so come with your checkbook. Planned Parenthood is going to dump tens of millions of dollars into promoting their side of the story. We have to be able to compete from our side as well. So consider contributing. There's the concert flyer right there. You can find it on my website. I know it's on yours, Justin, the Facebook pages. Bring everybody that wants to defeat these so that you can get good information and you can leave with some flyers in your hands as well.
It'll be happening again this Saturday, GR Church on Stauffer. And of course, Ryan will be there. Joe Moss from Ottawa Impact. I'll be there. And the band Arrows Rising. So it's a great night. There'll be some praise and worship. And of course, folks fighting to get, this thing we fight. A lot of people think this is a physical thing. This is in the, in the political spectrum. But really, this realm that we're looking at is a spiritual fight. I think a lot of believers, especially folks in West Michigan, are waking up to that. Folks all over. That we've got to fight this spiritual fight, and these are how these battles are fought, and the Lord fights that battles. So we're looking forward to coming together to talk about that. Thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate all that you're doing, right? Thank you, Ryan Kelly here, MichiganSaysNo.com.
See you next time. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, brother. Can I come back with that big announcement? I hear there's something big, folks. Speaking of something big, I've got the audio from the wives of railroaders, and this could be libs of TikTok. Now, I'm not going to paint them all as this type of person, because they're not. A lot of them, I'm sure, are just real average, everyday folks that want better treatment. But some of the things that this woman is saying really concern me. You've got to hear this radical, this extreme video that I've got. We'll play it for you so you can understand what's happening, possibly coming our way with this railroad strike. Time to get prepared, folks. It's Wednesday. They strike Friday, possibly. Got a couple of days to get ready. May want to get a little extra food, a little extra supplies on hand for at least a couple of weeks, they're telling us. They're saying that in their own words. More of what they're talking about we'll unveil coming up on the after show. You can follow the after show over on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter, all of those great places, YouTube as well, and at justinbarclay.com. Listen to the podcast as always after this show, the after show, and everything else we do. The iHeartRadio app, wherever you get your podcasts. That's it, folks. Back tomorrow morning at 9:06. God willing. Make it a great day. God bless. All right. Just got to push a couple of buttons, and we'll be off. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. Yeah, love to see you there Saturday night if you can stop in. That one is going to be a blast. Good point, Sherry. Everybody click share today if you get a chance. Make sure you're sharing this so folks can hear these stories, the stories that matter most. They won't hear them anywhere else for the most part. Okay. Welcome into the after show. It's the show after the show. This is why we call it the after show. Yep, never a dull moment. Do our best to make sure that you stay informed no matter what happens. Yeah, it's the fastest hour on radio that flies by from 9 to 10, but that's why we did this. We started the after show because you asked for it, you demanded it. We're going to give the people what they want. Imagine that. Yes, folks, lots of this continues to unfold in front of our eyes, and the railroad strike probably the biggest piece of this puzzle. If I can share this with you, and I think I will share some of these on Twitter, but anytime I share stuff, you can find it. I'm everywhere at Mr. Justin Barclay. Find me in all the usual places at Mr. Justin Barclay. Online, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. And I'm gonna share some of these. Yeah, this is probably the good one. Railroad wife warns of coming disaster. Okay, some of this is kind of I'll just warn you. Some of it's she's kind of radical. I went and checked out her profile. I did some digging, and she's one of these. She's a communist. She's a Marxist. So some of the language and some of the things that she's using, very, very, very concerning. It'll show you just how off base she is. But I thought you ought to at least hear what she's excited about and what some of these other folks are excited about. Pops is saying the railroad conditions are worse. Let's see. Two Navy brothers that work for two different railroad unions, their working conditions are worse than before the auto workers unionized. Their life is the railroad, whether they like it or not. I know there's a lot of things that are coming their way and the things that they're not happy about. Railroads are working towards being fully autonomous. Well, that is going to happen. This is a thing that we don't realize. Trucks, railroads, and I don't like the idea of any of these things, but it's coming. They're going to do that. That's what this Great Reset is about. The folks at the top don't need us anymore. You know, they got AI. They got AI now that can talk for me, and they could just type in a script, and one day you may not even know. You think it's me talking, but it's not. It's actually there's actually some sort of AI. It's a fake me. Isn't that something? And you would never know. Well, I think at first you probably would, because the technology's not really all there yet. But man, oh man, can you imagine that? It's coming. I know. So, folks, be warned. Be warned. Whether you are in that field or some other, that's what this whole great reset, that's what this whole agenda is about. And some folks are being used to make it happen sooner rather than later. What happens if the railroads go on strike? And there's some real bad things that occur. Food can't get here or there. Energy can't get here to there. Whatever it is that they're hauling, fuel, things like that. What do you think the government then is able to do? Oh, let's take care of these folks. Or we're going to take control of this. This should never happen again. We'll make sure that it never happens again. So there's a fine line between taking the action that you got to take to make sure that you have the working conditions that you deserve and should have, right? There's a fine line between that and then what could happen. Say, if they use it. Remember what they did to the truckers in Canada? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do these things. I'm just saying, remember what the news and all these folks did to the truckers in Canada? So here she is, the Marxist wife of a railroader, talking about, you need to stock up.
I just saw this notification as I was talking about this with my mom. I did most of my shopping and stocked up, but I have a couple more things left to get. But I think I'll be able to get that tomorrow. If only people would be listening right now. This has the potential to create such a huge impact across the nation.
She's going to go into further detail on this on her TikTok. This is almost a libs of TikTok extravaganza. This is almost a libs of TikTok extravaganza that you're going to see here. I've got 2-3 videos from her where she lays all this out, and she is a Marxist. She probably knows it. She'll probably admit it. But in fact, in her profile, she kind of gets into that. She is someone who espouses that sort of ideology. Now, what she doesn't realize, I don't know, maybe she does, is that this stuff is going to collapse our. Now, maybe they want this. Some of these anarchist folks, they're really all about that. They love this idea. We got to collapse. It's their revolution, right? We got to collapse it all. We got to bring it all down. How many people will get hurt in the process? Innocent people. And people bring this up in the comments, sir. You don't realize you're going to, innocent people are going to get hurt during this process. It's the railroads and the billionaires that you have to worry about. And you know what she says? Oh, no. These billionaires, screw them. This whole thing, the railroads, they need to be private. They need to be public, made public anyway. What she means by that is they need to be government run. Is anything government run good? And what we have right now isn't capitalism. It's not the free market. We have this weird, incestuous thing that's happening between the government and corporations. We have a corporatocracy. So here she is talking about how you haven't heard a tiny bit of this on the news. Well, here's she's talking about it.
What's funny is while I was making that video yesterday, something popped up on my local nightly news. They were talking about the workers and what they were going to do with their families if they go on strike. It was like a 30-second blip. No mention of what the American people are going to do when their commodities, agriculture, energy products, our construction materials, food, paper, like not even a concept of what would happen if the railroad shuts down. Our perspective is so disconnected from the reality. People all want to be out here thinking like we're independent. No, we're not. We're all very much dependent on each other and the laborers of this country. They keep America going. But in 16 days, that's about to change.
So there you have it. And this was done quite some time ago. I have pulled some of the best audio clips or video clips from her In fact, here's another one. Railroad companies who are directly responsible for inflation are hoping people turn their anger to railroad workers. This will hurt us, not the billionaires that control the industry, but keep thinking you're sticking it to the man. Yeah, that's the comment. That's what I meant. Now, watch what she says. So when you watch this a little bit closer, you're starting to get a feel for who she is and what her beliefs are.
See, perspectives like this keep us from making progress. You're focused on the little bit of hurt you're about to receive instead of the years of inhumane treatment that railroaders have received. All because our rail system, which should be public, is privately owned. These people have been making billions off of their monopoly of our rail system. This has the potential to literally push us into a general strike, but you're saying it's not going to do anything. Come on, dude.
So I listened to all that language and thought, okay, who is this person? Because she's saying some things that don't quite altogether add up. So if you go to her profile, you'll see this. BLM MMIW 2S Exicano Philippinks veteran PNW. I don't even know what all this stuff means. Decolonize, decriminalize. At the least, I'm going to say, and she's got her pronouns of she, they, like anybody cares. But at the very least, I'm going to say this. She's extremely misled. She thinks the government ought to take control of this stuff. The government's the problem in the first place. These big corporations are walking hand in hand with the government, and they're responsible for all these things. And folks like her will be the first out. These people that are always on the left, the regressives, the folks who are the most vocal, the wildest, they're going to be the first out. When the real revolution goes down, they'll be the first taken out. Go back to history. Look at the books. That's what they did. The truth and the reason I showed you this today, more than anything else, is to show you what is happening, what they're talking about, and what's being planned. Now, I'm not blaming all the workers. I know some of these conditions are very bad. But folks, I don't think people realize what runs on rail. And I've lost my Facebook chat, so I'm looking at only Rumble, and I could try to look at Facebook. But we had something weird just happen where I can't see the chat anymore. So if you're leaving me stuff, just you can try to put them in again. I'm able to see them now. But I don't think people realize. In fact, I got a text message earlier today, and you can text me at 616-636-1676. If you have messages that you want to go to me, I can read those there. But folks are making the point in the text message, one particularly. Tim says, you mentioned the rail strike and food prices, but don't forget, since they hate the pipelines, they're moving the fuel on the roads and rails now. It's either incompetent or intentional. Yes, Tim, I do believe that's part of this. A lot of people are, and I don't know. Look, I get the tinfoil hat. I can get that thing out if we need to, but they have made the question and comment. Will we have elections at all in November? I tend to say, that's a little out there for me. But when you see stuff like this, you see the further, like we're being pushed every day in these weird directions. Why'd the FBI raid Mike Lindell and get his cell phone? Come on. It's almost like they're trying to elicit some sort of reaction from people. The pillow guy of all people, for Pete's sakes. And then, of course, this latest with the rail situation. If this rail strike happens and it's hard to get some of the things, I mean, think about it. Not just food. Well, you're talking food, fuel, and some of the rest of it. Think about it. What happens What happens to folks in society? What do we devolve to something? Is it reasonable to think that maybe that could be part of a plan? It's wild. I get it. I understand. I'll be first to admit it. But these days, would anything blow you away? Speaking of which, did you see this story? The FBI pressured people to give up their gun rights, document shows. This is the new story. Not a lot of folks following this, but the FBI has pressured Americans to voluntarily give up their Second Amendment rights. Potentially illegal, they say, according to newly disclosed documents. FBI officials had Americans fill out a form that said they want the FBI to make it illegal for them to purchase or own guns forever because of a mental health condition. National gun rights group Gun Owners of America, GOA, is demanding the FBI remove the records from the background check database by October 8th, and the Congress enforced the removals. We've learned that the FBI had no business disarming these individuals. They did not pose a threat to society. FBI actions were wholly unlawful. So what happens is they showed up at somebody's door, probably as a threat. Anytime the FBI show up as your door, you're thinking, what in the world are they doing here? What's going on? They probably felt threatened. And then at the end of the day, they said, yes, I'll sign whatever you've got for me to sign, which was this document. And yet nobody really is talking about this. There really hasn't been a lot of discussion about this. It's kind of quiet. Did you see that I don't know if you saw this. Oh, was this on Tucker last night too? I do believe he had her on last night. The Trump supporter who says the FBI came to her door. You just can't make this stuff up. It's such a weird world we live in. Came to her door after Biden's anti-MAGA speech to intimidate her with an anonymous tip that she was at January 6th at the Capitol riot, and she wasn't there. She was not there. But an anonymous tip can get you a visit from the FBI these days, apparently, especially when it comes to MAGA territory. If you're a supporter, I do have some good news, and some of it comes in our Rona report today. In fact, some of it comes from Jeff Childers from Coffee and COVID, and some of it I found really interesting about what he had to say about the latest in Trump's news. Now, I don't know if I don't have enough time to get to everything today, so I may not be able to get to this one today. I may be able to cover this more. Let's say either later on locals, because I've been doing some exclusive stuff over there. Maybe later on locals, or maybe I cover it tomorrow for you. But there we go. But he's got some interesting stuff in his stack today on Coffee and COVID. If you've never been there, coffeeandcovid.com. He writes a great newsletter. It's funny, it makes you think, and it's sharing news that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Some of the stories that we get to share here. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick. Do you want a Rona report, or do you want this update about the possible diabolical genius of the Trump raid, the FBI Trump raid? Which would you prefer? Which would you prefer? Let me take a look at the chat real quick and see what I get. Rona report or Trump raid? All right, Rona report it is. Trump raid will save. Hang on for it. Rona reports! For the high priest of health himself, St. Anthony of Wuhan, Mr. Booster. Fauci! Could be problematic. Yes, you never know. Anderson, I understand. Could be problematic in CNN right now. Lots of folks being booted. We want Kate has one request for both. You want your cake and eat it too, Kate. I understand. First, I will tell you we have a monkeypox update. We didn't get to all of it yesterday, but monkeypox. Hang on. Where did it? There it is. The monkeypox. Apparently, we've had our first death. This is not something to be excited about or to celebrate at all. But the first death from the monkeypox actually came this weekend. Not a lot of details on it, but it was the first in the U.S. And I don't honestly. They were hoping that there would be more of this. You know they were. In fact, they were running out trying to jab everybody with the monkeypox jab. But the first death came Los Angeles County health officials announcing Monday. The CDC confirming the link said the person had a severely weakened immune system. So it's a situation where whoever gets the monkeypox, you're not going to die from it. It's going to be very uncomfortable. Deaths from monkeypox are extremely rare and often affect babies, they say, pregnant women and people. So that's supposed to make you afraid. Pregnant women, people with weakened immune systems such as HIV, yada, yada, yada. To date, there's about 22,000 cases, probable or confirmed monkeypox. This is from CNN. You have the first monkeypox case at all in the United States that ended in death. Biden issued a massive new executive order yesterday that sweeps through every agency in a U.S. government with the awkward title, Executive Order on Advancing Biotechnology and Biomanufacturing Innovation for a Sustainable, Safe, and Secure American Bioeconomy. That's the ABB, ISSSAB. ABISAB? It's executive order. The order sets the driving policy on the Biden administration to massively increase investment into bioengineering and manufacturing because the pandemic demonstrated the vital role of biotechnology. Stop laughing. They're serious and they want to do things. Listen to this part. We need to develop genetic engineering technologies and techniques to be able to write circuitry for cells and predictably program biology in the same way in which we write software and program computers. This is spooky stuff, folks. And yes, he's pushing it out right in time for the midterms. It's a gold rush for government spending. It's spooky, spooky, spooky stuff. Reuters ran an article on Sunday headline, Germans switch to costly fan heaters as gas shortage fears bite. The headline tells you the whole story. Germans aren't stupid. They're buying up every electric heater they can get their hands on. German grid operators freaking out now. Electric heaters place huge demand on the grid, but it's better than freezing. Fox ran an uplifting story yesterday. Headline, Navy quietly rolled back punishments, and this is good news. Punishments for SEALs seeking religious exemptions to the COVID vaccine. The article explains that the Navy's jab order issued a year ago was titled Trident Order Number 12 and medically disqualified any SEALs asked for religious exemptions. So they've gotten rid of that. Some progress. Fox reported the Navy just filed a brief in the case that attached a May 2022 order rescinding Trident Order Number 12. The new order plainly states this order rescinds reference to Trident Order 12 on the jabs. Even the SEALs were surprised to see the order. It's not clear whether the Navy might have replaced Trident Order 12 with a new jab order, but the lawyers in the case don't think so. And Biden has slowly and quietly backed out of another jab mandate. Another one bites the dust. Even though the 11th Circuit partially vacated the injunction on federal contractor mandate last month, effectively limited the scope to just the plaintiff states, the Biden administration's GSA issued new guidance yesterday, stripping the mandate from federal purchasing requirements. The government now says it will take no action to enforce the mandate absent further written notice from the agency. CDC director admits agency gave false information on COVID-19 vaccine safety, according to the headline, The Epoch Times. The director saying, Michelle Walensky, in a letter made public on September 12th, the CDC did not analyze certain types of adverse events at all in 2021, despite the agency previously saying it started in February 2021. Folks, this is big. They've admitted they gave false information. They didn't analyze any adverse events during the entire year of 2021. She says CDC performed PRR analysis between March 2022 and July 2022. CDC also recently addressed a previous statement made to the Epoch Times to clarify PRR were not run between February 2021 and September 2021. Walensky's agency had promised in several documents starting in early 2021 to perform a type of analysis called proportional reporting ratio on reports submitted to the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, VAERS. You remember the ones that everyone always says, oh, that's just conspiracy theory. They lied. They've been caught. I'm sure they'll face consequences. I won't hold my breath, though, because I like to breathe, and my body requires oxygen. Folks, we talked about the railroad strike earlier, and I told you again today, I'll make that point. We don't know what's coming. Get prepared. Preparewithjustin.com. 3 months right now. You get 3 months of survival food. This is for one person, but you could save up to $250. 3 months for one person would be a month for three. Just short of that for four. So think about in your family. It's 2,000 calories a day. The stuff lasts 25 years. The deal is going away within hours, though. So if you want to do this, you need to go today to do it. Save $250. Lowest price in 3 years. When everybody else is raising their prices, folks at My Patriot Supply, they're actually lowering them. It's almost like they just want to help people, isn't it? Get prepared. No matter what it is that you do, if you can buy a little bit extra at the grocery store right now, especially as we look at what's possibly coming with this railroad strike and the sheer chaos and insanity that they want to enact everywhere. Thanks to the folks at My Patriot Supply. Anytime you support them or anyone else that supports this program, folks, you are helping make this possible, helping us get the word out. Anytime you share anything that we share with you, anytime you share these stories, anytime you share our broadcasts, any of it, of course, you help us get the word out and you help make this possible. Preparewithjustin.com. It's preparewithjustin.com. All right, I've got a meeting that I got to get to. I wish I could stay longer today, but it's a very important meeting, so I've got to get to that. I will be back tomorrow with that story about the Trump and the kind of behind-the-scenes theory that Jeff Childers has about the genius, the brilliance behind what we're seeing with the FBI raid and more. It is kind of an interesting theory, and because it comes from an attorney, Jeff Childers, I thought, well, maybe it's worth entertaining. I'll share that with you, maybe even later today over on Locals. If you haven't joined up yet over at Locals, you should do so. JustinBarclay.com/locals. Lots of good exclusive stuff happening over there. You can become a supporter. I got to give credit to the latest supporters. We had some good ones last night again. I'll read those names for the folks in the coming days. You can see some of the stuff that I post over on Locals exclusive. Plus, you'll get my audiobook for free when you become a supporter. Just $7 a month. Or you can become an annual supporter and get 2 months free. By the way, to become a member, it's absolutely free at justinbarclay.com/locals. Make it a great day, folks. God bless.